There's a sound you've never heard. A bell that was never rung. An idea that lived only in the safety of words. Tonight, we gather in a small, dark room. Not a boardroom, not a council chamber. A den beneath the floorboards where fear has a smell. And the mice, yes, mice, are about to teach us something we've been avoiding our whole lives. This is the bell unrung. Imagine living in a world where every footstep above you might be your last warning. The mice lived like this, not in a fairy tale, not in some distant kingdom. In a house, your house maybe, beneath the kitchen, behind the walls, in the spaces we forget exist. And above them, no, around them, was the cat. Not a villain, just a creature doing what creatures do. But to the mice, she was the shadow that never slept. The silence before the pounce. The reason they barely breathed. They stopped going out during the day. They stopped singing. They stopped being. Fear had become the architecture of their lives. So they did what we do when the weight gets too heavy. They called a meeting. The den was packed. Old mice, young mice, the anxious ones, the angry ones, all gathered in the flickering dark. We need a plan, someone said. And oh, the plans that came. Dig deeper, move at night only, create decoys, form alliances. But every idea had a flaw. Every solution a cost too high. Until a young mouse stood. Barely grown. Eyes still bright with the kind of hope that hasn't been worn down yet. I have it, he said. And you could feel the room lean in. We hang a bell around the cat's neck. When it rings, we'll know she's coming. We'll have time. We'll be free. The silence that followed was the silence of revelation. How had no one thought of this? It was perfect, simple, elegant, foolproof. The room erupted. Celebration, relief. The kind of joy that comes when you finally see the way out. But then, an old mouse rose, slowly. His fur was gray, his eyes tired. He didn't speak right away. He let them finish their cheering, and when the room finally quieted, he said, "It's a good plan. But tell me, who will bell the cat? But tell me, who will bell the cat?" No one spoke. Not the young mouse with the bright idea. Not the veterans who had survived 100 close calls. Not the mothers, not the fathers. No one. Because in that moment, they all understood. The plan wasn't the problem. The plan was beautiful. But beauty and bravery are not the same thing. To bell the cat meant to get close, to risk everything, to become the one who might not return. And suddenly, the perfect solution became a mirror. It reflected back not the cat's cruelty, but their own. Not their cowardice, no, their humanity. The gap between knowing what should be done and having the strength to do it. The meeting ended, not with a decision, but with a truth. The bell was never hung. The cat still hunts, and the mice still live in fear. Not because they lacked a solution, but because solutions are only as real as the hands willing to carry them. So here we are, you and me, listening to a story about mice. But you already know, don't you? This isn't about them. How many times have you sat in that room? The meeting, the brainstorm, the family dinner where everyone agrees something needs to change. We should spend more time together. Someone should talk to him. We really need to do something about this. And everyone nods. The plan is perfect. But then comes the question, whispered or unspoken. Who will actually do it? Who will have the hard conversation? Who will make the sacrifice? Who will risk looking foolish? Or being rejected? Or failing in front of everyone? We are all the young mouse, brilliant in theory. We can see the problem. We can design the solution. We can even imagine the freedom on the other side. But when it comes time to act, we are also all the old mouse, the one who's lived long enough to know the weight of the bell. And here's the hard part. Both are right. The young mouse isn't naive. Hope is not ignorance. And the old mouse isn't cynical. Caution is not cowardice. The tragedy, the real tragedy, is that neither one can do it alone. Vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is chaos. But together, that's where transformation lives. So let me ask you, not as a teacher, but as someone who stood in that same room, what bell have you been talking about? What change have you designed in the safety of your mind, but never touched with your hands? And what way cost you, really cost you, to be the one who steps forward? Not because you're fearless, but because you're the only one who can carry your bell. Not someone else's, yours. Maybe the lesson isn't about the cat at all. Maybe it's about the moment when we stop waiting for a hero and realize the story's been waiting for us. Thank you for sitting with me tonight, in the quiet, in the questions. I don't have the answers, but I think maybe that's the point. The bell is still there, waiting, not for the perfect person, not for the fearless one, just for the one who decides that living in fear is finally more exhausting than facing it. If this story stirred something in you, share it. Not because I asked, but because someone you know is standing in that room right now, wondering if they're brave enough. And maybe your voice is the permission they need. I'll be here next time with another story, another question. Until then. The bell doesn't need a hero. It just needs a hand.